Hey Raghunath, tell everyone about our Patreon community.
Sure, Kaustubha. The Wisdom of the Sages Patreon community is an incredible online yoga resource. If you like the type of yoga wisdom and culture we share on the show, then our Patreon community is a great next step. This is a listener-supported podcast, and any level of sponsorship will unlock a wide range of live and archived classes, talks, and even workshops.
Raghunath teaches, I teach, and we have a host of other excellent teachers on topics ranging from yoga philosophy, asana classes, storytelling, Ayurveda, kirtan, cooking, meditation, and a lot more.
We even have an incredible online Bhakti 12-step recovery group.
So if you want to check it out, go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages.
All right, let's get it on.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Super Soul Farm, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center in New York, Kaustubha Das. Welcome to the show, and welcome to Walk on Wednesday. Walk on Wednesday is a day where we find some interesting person that we like, think is doing some cool things with their life, or just want to hear their story, and we share them with our big community of aspiring yogis who want a little bit more to their yoga life. Yoga's become so popular, but we've sort of like missed the boat on where we're supposed to be going. So Wisdom of the Sages, we try to zoom out, pay a lot of attention on yoga philosophy, lifestyle, culture, and we find the whole thing incredibly transformational. Not just a couple hours a week, but sort of like day by day, moment by moment. Today we have a really special guest, a friend of mine from Vrindavan, India. Please welcome Nityananda Prabhu. Haribo, how are you?
I'm great. Yeah, thank you for inviting me to this amazing show. And yeah,
And where are you right now?
I'm right now in Baroda, Gujarat. That's in Western India.
And that's where your wife lives.
Yeah.
And how long have you been in India for?
Well, last 20 years actually.
Last
I'm originally
20 years.
I'm originally from Latvia, so I came on a one-way ticket back in 2000.
How old were you, if you don't mind me asking?
So I just kept living here.
How old were you, if you don't mind me asking?
I just turned 18, and that's what I was waiting for. And
Wow.
And the bird flew out of home. Right.
So you got out of Latvia in 2000.
Yeah.
What was it? Were you on a spiritual quest? Did you know what you wanted? Was it random? Or you're on vacation and you got kidnapped?
No, actually,
by a cult? What happened?
Yeah, actually, it was a specific journey, definitely spiritual, because I've met my spiritual master in Latvia, and I've became introduced to Krishna consciousness back in Latvia. So yeah, I went to India to basically explore its culture, absorb the vibration of the ancient traditions, and just live here, because this is a very special place, definitely.
So Nityananda Prabhu is a Sanskrit scholar and teacher, and I'm presently taking his course right now, which I really love. And I can't believe I haven't studied Sanskrit more in the 30 plus years I've been into Bhakti. But it's like I feel like I'm missing out on a big piece. You can find his course, Sanskrit Sense, SENSE.com, and he offers two courses. What's the first one called?
Complete Sanskrit pronunciation,
which is incredibly useful for people like me.
That's where I teach basically the precise articulation of Sanskrit sounds, because we're coming from all kinds of backgrounds with our native languages, and we tend to pronounce things this or that way. So Sanskrit pronunciation is very scientific. So I really break it down to categories we go deeply into the alphabet, and we practice. I give personal feedback to my students. So kind of these nuts and bolts of the language. That's in my first course. Yeah.
How's Raghunath doing so far in the course? Tell us the truth.
I'm doing pretty good. I'm doing pretty good.
I wasn't asking you.
Well, we're not doing it one-on-one. I will say it's almost better than being one-on-one because he did such a wonderful job in presenting it. It's like he has a lot of slides, and he's just a very good teacher.
Is Raghunath a good student?
I'm waiting for his recording.
He's really waiting for my recording, my homework. I haven't sent it in yet. But yeah, you're a great teacher. And this course I'm taking is called the Mastery of Sanskrit.
Yeah, this one I just released the last month. I've been preparing it for the last 2 years. It's basically once you have familiarized yourself with the correct and precise Sanskrit sound, you want to go forward and you want to actually employ it and chant things, because that's the ultimate goal why we're studying this. So I'm basically teaching the art, the skill of Sanskrit chanting, which has lots of interesting things in it, and there are things that you need to learn. There are things that you need to just imbibe, and many subtle points. And I'm kind of unpacking it all for people. And this is all, I just try to present it all under one roof in one place, so that you have A to Z information on Sanskrit chanting, theory, practice, everything. Yeah.
I'm going to ask you a crazy question.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how regular academia views what is the origin of language. What do you? Well, first of all, what do you think the origin of language is, and then what is the origin of Sanskrit?
Well, I firmly believe in what my tradition teaches about it, and that the language is a spiritual phenomenon, and it descends from the spiritual world. Later on, okay, and this is a very important point, because the way the spiritual vibration descends into this material world is via Sanskrit. Mm. Yeah, this is what the Vedas teach us. So this language is really, really special. So if you recite it with the proper frame of mind, with your consciousness tuned to the supreme, to the absolute truth, then it really purifies you. It does something to your system, does something to your mind, to your heart. It fills you in with something really very, very powerful and subtle. You feel very uplifted after doing it. And then later on, of course, the people, as it comes into this world, this original language, it starts to get altered in different ways, and therefore other languages as derivatives of it appear, and then you have all those permutations and variations, and then
and
variations
they merge.
Yeah.
So would you say the languages, there's like how many languages in India right now? Like 60? Something like this?
I think it's close to 200 if you really count the dialects, because each state has its own primary language. But even within this, like for example, I'm now in Gujarat, so there is Gujarati, that's the official language. But then within Gujarat, there are also a few languages in different areas of Gujarat. So it's really, really interesting and complex.
Are they originated from Sanskrit as well?
Yes. All the languages, at least in the Indian subcontinent, you can see a strong connection to Sanskrit. As you go further, of course, that connection is not so obviously seen. So you really need to dig into it.
Right. Like there's European words and English words that have Sanskrit roots. Like what are we
exactly
saying?
Yeah.
What were we saying, Mara? We had like door.
Tumultuous.
Which one?
What tumultuous,
word? Like tumultuous,
very, very loud. Yeah.
Tumultuous is Sanskrit.
Tumula, Sashabdas tumulo bhavat. In Gita, you have it, first chapter.
Oh, the blowing of the conch shells.
Yes.
Wow. Prabhu, you don't know this, but I think it's been many years since I've seen you. I remember I interviewed you once. I got a great recording of you.
Yes, it was in Govardhan. I remember that.
At Govardhan, and I think of you practically every day. because my wife, she chants that what I recorded from you, the Govardhan Astakam, Raghunath Das
Yes.
Goswami.
Nijapati Bhujadanda.
Yeah, it's such a beautiful, like you're saying, it's such a fact that you feel so uplifted when you hear this. And my wife, when she does a puja, she chants that every day. Nijanikita Nivasa Dehi Govardhan Tvam.
Yeah, maybe you can chant a couple of those. Nirupadi karanena si sachinandanena. See, that's how I chant it. Now hear how he chants it.
Nijapati Bhujadanda Chhatra Bhavam Prapadya Pratihatamada Danda Devendra Garvaha Atula Prithula Shaila Shreni Bhupa Priyam Me Nijanikata Nivasam Dehi Govardhanatvam Nirupadhikaruణेन Shri Shachinandanena Tvayi Kapati Shathopi Tvatpriyenarpitosmi Iti Khalu Mama Yognya Tam Agrihnan Nijanikata Nivasam Dehi Govardhanatvam.
What's the translation to those verses?
Oh, so this is a prayer for eternal residence by the side of Sri Govardhan Hill. So Raghunath Das Goswami describes how so he became an umbrella on the pinky finger of his Lord, protecting all the Vraja from the attack of mad Indra, who was like a mad crocodile. He's so like that. And Atula Prithula Shaila Shreni Bhupa. So he's the emperor of all the great mountains, Govardhan. And then by the mercy of Sri Shachinandana, Lord Chaitanya, I've been given the residence next to Govardhan. And also Raghunath Goswami worshipped Govardhana Shila, so he mentions it. So he says, please Govardhan, do not look at my faults and virtues. Don't consider me. Don't judge me. I am what I am. I'm just a cheater. I'm fallen. Just
say on this show.
Accept me. Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. Raghunath Das Goswami is really, he's a Prayojanacharya. He's considered just the most exalted of all the saints. I mean, just like, and he's praying, I'm a dented can. This is the term we use on our show. We say, I'm a dented can.
We say a dented can.
Yeah, don't judge me. I am what I am. But please accept me. Please accept my service. Please allow me to reside near you. It's such a beautiful, one thing that I regret all the time, we read Bhagavatam here every day, but the subtleties in the Sanskrit, in the poetry and so on, we're kind of oblivious to.
Yeah, me too. I feel like I'm missing out on a big piece of the Bhagavatam without that understanding of Sanskrit. And
but you are tuned into it.
That's part of the reason why I'm like actually want to study it too, is because you can feel the nuances.
Definitely, you can spend a day just like dissecting the verse, and sometimes even within the word, you have all those different combinations that result in different meanings. And when you know Sanskrit, you know how it all makes sense. Then it's really, you're connected to the scripture on a different level.
Yeah.
When you're aware of all this wiring under.
and you probably have an appreciation as well as like the author. Like this is like a beautiful piece of poetry, like with perfect rhyme and meter and alliteration, right?
Yes, definitely. You can appreciate on a totally different level everything.
And when it comes to Bhagavatam, could you mention anything about the Sanskrit within the Bhagavatam and the poetry within Bhagavatam? And is it particularly special compared to other literature and so on?
Yes, Bhagavatam is, even the scholars agree on that. The language of the Bhagavatam is especially beautiful. And Bhagavatam uses all the varieties of meters. There are about, 20 plus different meters. All other Puranas, they use, 1, 2, 3, 4 max. Bhagavatam uses 20 plus. So it's poetically very rich, and the language is just on totally another level. Bhagavatam is the essence of the Vedic literature, and also it exemplifies beautiful poetry, topmost poetry in Sanskrit as well. So it is how in Bhagavatam it is stated that It is a rasayana, shruti rasayana. So it's an elixir, it's a nectar to hear. Even if a person is aesthetically appreciate, even from that angle, you can appreciate Bhagavatam like anything, because
From the
it
artistic, from the cultural, from the poetic, what to speak of the philosophical or spiritual.
Yes, exactly. And it hasn't, and you can see it through the centuries. It inspired so many devotional poets to come up with their masterpieces. But the root, the inspiration was the Bhagavatam. The
So
leelas that were described there. Yeah.
just like there'll be some music, like, you take the Beatles or something like that, and then they inspired so many other musicians. So beyond that, but Bhagavatam, it has inspired all the great saints.
The culture, the beautiful thing about this culture, you study any facet of it and it just goes so deep, and you can just like absorb all of your senses and your mind and your intelligence and your words in different, like my son is studying Mridanga right now, and you can't help but getting sucked into it, and you can't help but getting sucked into Kirtan, and you can't help but get sucked into Krishna and the whole culture, and it's rich and it's fulfilling. And it's a rich, fulfilling culture that doesn't divert you from the absolute truth. It actually reconnects you. Even if you get into Mridanga because, hey, you like the beat and you think it's cool, or whatever reason you might get into any of these things, they don't take you down a rabbit hole of Maya or materialism. They take, even if you go in there fully with ego, I want to become a Sanskrit pundit, it takes you right around back to the absolute truth. We're small. This is a language from the gods. The gods are, the gods are over. And then there's the God of the gods. And it takes you right back to Bhakti. It's very beautiful.
You know what I think we need, Raghunath?
What?
We need a regular daily Sanskrit correspondent on the show, right? That we could, whenever coming up with cool stuff in the verses, they can reveal stuff to us. Nityananda, we need you to tune in every day.
Yeah, you might have to get here every day. Give us a little Sanskrit juice. You mind coming back sometime?
I'm sorry, your voice was interrupted.
Oh, I'm sorry. I said we need some Sanskrit every day. Do you mind coming back sometime and just reading some verses for us? We'll have special.
We can
Sanskrit Thursdays or something like that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
We're looking for Tuesday and Thursday, trying to do something.
The arranged marriage thing didn't work.
No, that one, the trivia's failed, arranged marriage has failed. Freaky Friday hasn't worked either.
But anyway, I just want to announce again, and if you want to go down this path, you've got nothing to lose. It's for the quality of the course you built, it was really worth the money. It's SanskritSense.com, and I really think what you've done is a great contribution, because not only do you teach it like academia, you teach it like a bhakta, which is like really important. Before you leave, though, I wanted to ask you, who was the saint that was a scholar, but then he had like a transformation in bhakti, and he started teaching Sanskrit only from bhakti? Who was that? Jiva Goswami, or he had a special way of teaching Sanskrit? Am I saying something stupid or wrong?
Sri Chaitanya.
Well, it was Lord Chaitanya, but there was another one too.
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself.
Chaitanya himself.
No,
wasn't there somebody else who they teach Sanskrit? Every word has to do with Krishna or something like that. Have you heard that? Was that Jiva Goswami?
He did that, but I don't think he's a person that like was a scholar and changed his mood or something like that, if that's what you're saying.
Nityananda, nothing?
Well, I don't know if there is any other person, but this change in Lord Chaitanya's teaching back in Navadvip, when he converted the whole grammar into Krishna, it was an inspiration for Jiva Goswami to create a whole grammar system, which is called Harinamamrita Vyakaran, and which I have studied, 15 years ago.
You studied the Govardhan, right?
That's another amazing book,
Yeah.
We studied grammar in Govardhan, but we just felt like we were, we didn't feel like we were doing something dry. It was just so juicy, so sweet, full of Krishna's names. And the complexity side was there. It was no way inferior to the Panini and other traditional grammars. So our minds were totally satisfied. We were like hungry for learning, hungry for all these grammatical, explanations. That was totally satisfied. At the same time, we felt completely enveloped in Krishna's name and very protected.
Isn't that interesting?
So it was not just a grammar for the brain.
Right. You think like, yeah, let's go study grammar. It'll be fun. But it actually is deep and rich and joyful.
They made it fun, but and also revealing so much philosophically and theologically and all that. In other words, for the listeners, just so that they understand that there's a tradition of Sanskrit grammar, and it takes like 12 years to learn or something like that. It's very complicated and complex. It's complex, but these great saints, they devised a way to teach it, where it was all based on Krishna's names and was all revealing more and more about Krishna. So it became a very rich, spiritually satisfying kind of study. Is that captured more or less, Nityananda?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. That was what they did.
And I think it's the national language of India. Is that correct?
No. It was proposed to be, but they eventually decided Sanskritized Hindi instead of directly Sanskrit.
Sanskritized Hindi. I mean, Hindi still uses the alphabet, though. Is that correct? Except for a few extinct, they call them extinct.
Alphabet, yeah, and vocabulary too.
And vocabulary. Okay, I'm also learning Hindi too, so I can wander into various temples and ask them questions. Well, thank you very much for joining us again. Sanskrit Sense is his course. You can check it out, and I'm sure it will enlighten you. Thank you for enlightening us, Prabhu. Now we're going to jump into the Bhagavatam.
Thank you once again. Great.
And please come back and join us.
Sure.
Right. Now we need you to critique Raghu's mantra chanting right here, right now.
Oh no. Maybe you should just do it.
No.
Of guard.
No. Let's just hear him do it.
Oh, I thought you were telling me to do it.
No. Nityananda Prabhu, can you chant Narayanam Namaskritya and Nasta Prayesh Vabhadreshu?
Okay. Narayanam Namaskritya Narang Chaiva Narottamam Deving Saraswating Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Nashta Prayeshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki.
And the Guru Pranama?
Om Gyana.
Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitanyena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha.
God, I've been butchering this for years. Thank you. So nice. That was beautiful.
By the way, I have a tutorial on Mangalacharana on my YouTube channel, which is also Sanskrit Sense. So
Sanskrit Sense YouTube channel. Okay, that's great. We're all going to jump to that.
Yeah, we got to get on that.
Mangalacharana tutorial. So
great, Mara. Maybe put that up on the chat board for the Zoomers here too. We've got exactly 109 people on, and if you sign off, we'll have 108.
Not that we want you to. We want you to stay.
Not that you want to. You're welcome to stay, but I know you're busy and you have 2 little kids, and you're welcome to stay. But if you have to go, there's no offense. Thank you for taking time out of your day and your afternoon. Love to your family. I'm looking forward to seeing you in Vrindavan if I can ever go again.
Sure.
But he's not there. He's in Baroda.
I know, but he goes back to Vrindavan, right? Okay. Do you spend more time in Vrindavan?
Not these days.
Not these days. Okay, then.
So we got to go to Baroda. We got to go to Dwarka. We've never been there before.
Yeah, let's go to Dwarka. Have you been to
There are many
Dwarka?
cool places around Baroda. If you come,
I want. Where is the Ranchorji temple?
I believe it's in Dwarka.
Amazing.
Ranchorji, Gujarat, somewhere.
You have to visit. Yeah.
Okay.
Will do.
Thanks, Prabhu.
Yeah. It's on the westernmost tip of Gujarat.
Westernmost tip of Gujarat. Okay, great.
Okay, we'll just start wandering and we'll just ask.
Yeah, we'll ask if anyone knows Nityananda.
Which way is west?
Which way is west? All right. All right. So let's dive into the Srimad Bhagavatam.
Okay.
And that was a great way to start our
was.
morning, huh?
Yeah.
I really feel cleaner after hearing Sanskrit. That's how I feel. I feel clean. I feel uplifted and clean.
Me too.
You know, I need to
Yeah.
hear Sanskrit every day.
We do. We got to get like a, that super bottom going. That.
Oh, I do. I chant Vishnu Sahasranam every morning. I go into the shower, playing that in the background.
All right.
I've got different mantras on the regular that I'm going with, Kaustubh.
Okay.
I got to do something to uplift
Gotta
me
do
from my
that.
tamas.
You do that in the shower, huh? I got to do that.
Yeah, bring it right in the shower, man. There's no place you can't bring the holy name.
Do you stay in the shower for the entire Vishnu Sahasranam?
No, I'll go in and out.
Okay.
You know what I do? I put the phone in my pocket, play it through my phone. Then
In the
take it
shower?
out. Not in the shower. Not in the shower. I put it on the sink, and then I come back out. I just walk
You're
around with
carrying
that
that
phone going. And now
Oh,
that I have
man.
those earbuds, I wake up, put them in, start playing stuff, and I'm on like a spiritual realm,
That's how you bring.
dragging me out of the tamas of sleep.
That's how you bring so much ecstatic content to the show. You're inspired. You're like surcharged.
Yeah. Where do you think I get this from?
Now I know. Now I know your secret.
You thought it was just caffeine.
I did. I swear I did. Now I know the truth.
All right.
All right. So shall we dip in? There's some
Yeah.
really great stuff that we have today. This topic is so important. We're starting now. Now Brahma, he's ready to ask for his boon, right?
What's he gonna ask for? He could ask for anything.
Well, yesterday he said, he's praying to Lord Vishnu. He said, you're situated in everyone's heart as the supreme director, and you're aware of all endeavors by your superior intelligence without any hindrance whatsoever. So you already know what's going on with inside me. And now he's going to say in text 26, even though that's true, hit it, Raghu. 26.
26. In spite of that, my lord, I am praying to you to kindly fulfill my desire. May I please be informed how, in spite of your transcendental form, you assume the mundane form, although you have no such form at all, right?
Okay.
How does
Yeah.
God have form? God is like everything. How does God have some form that with hands?
Because he's got
And
everything.
people will argue too. They'll say, "Well, you just make God look like you." This white male guy.
He's not white.
Although
He's blue.
He's not white though, is he? He's
Yeah.
black.
Defeated.
He's black. And he's also a tortoise, a boar, a man lion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so he's saying, you're in my heart. You understand my thoughts, but still I'm going to pray to you. And my prayer, now this is what he's asking. Now let's read 26 through 30. Okay. And what we're going to see is, I find this little section right here really significant and really important, because here's the first person. In many ways, Brahma is kind of like, we're meant to learn from his example. Like, okay, here's how the first person did it, right? He's a person that he was, as we've mentioned in the previous days, he was in the darkness. He was feeling a sense of disconnection from his source. He received a mantra. He focused, he set aside all other concerns. He set aside any kind of selfish motive, and he followed that spiritual directive with great faith, with patience for a long time. He was granted the spiritual vision of Vaikuntha. He saw the spiritual world, and there he saw Lord Vishnu. And there's a lot, the God to the soul connection, or you could say the guru to the disciple connection. A lot of that is kind of shown here through their relationship. And so it almost like a guru to a disciple, Lord Vishnu says, hey, you followed that directive really well. I'm proud of you. I'm really pleased with you. And I want to with love. I want to reciprocate with you. Just like when we love someone and we're pleased by them, we want to give them something that'll please them. And he says, ask for me any boon. So now put yourself in Brahma's shoes. Raghu, any boon, what it's going to be?
Any boon?
Yeah.
New sneakers.
Okay.
My sneakers are old.
So he didn't ask for sneakers. He could have asked for anything, right? He just saw Vaikuntha. He said, my God, there's a lot of beautiful women. There's a lot of opulence around here. Why am I?
Right.
I've been sitting in the dark on this flower.
Whatever you want.
He could have asked for anything. But now what he asked for is in terms of his service. He's going to say, I need to understand who you are and how things are happening here. I feel that I have a responsibility to play. I have a role to play. Sometimes we call that one's dharma, one's purpose. My purpose in relation to God, I want to know that. I want to know what my purpose and role to play is. And in order to really understand that, I need to understand how you're asking me to create the material realm. That's going to become my role. I need to understand really how you're behind it all. I see that you have a body and a realm composed of spiritual energy that's like untouched by time or the gunas or the law of karma. How do your spiritual being, how do you operate in the material realm? You have spiritual and material energies. I need to understand this. So that's what he's asking for first. He's going to say, explain to me how you operate on both the material and the spiritual level. And then he's going to have some really interesting prayers about himself to say here too. So why don't we go ahead and read 26.
This is like spiritual life coaching, right?
In a sense, he's asking for it because he's going to say, I got a task to do. I need the right frame of mind to do it in. And the humility that Brahma approaches with is so exemplary. And it makes us look, it makes me feel so foolish, right? That the extent of his power, the extent of his creativity is unimaginable to us. But he has such humility. Whereas like if we create even the smallest little thing, we become prideful.
Yeah.
And so right from the very beginning, this is the very first prayer in the history of this universe. And his very first prayer is, tell me how you operate in this realm where apparently I'm the creator. I know it's really you. And inspire me to do my service, to do my dharma. And this is my concern, that I don't become proud. I really am afraid that in the course of carrying out my dharma, in the course of my creative expression, that I'll become proud and think it's all because of me. I do not want that to happen. Please give me the boon that I don't develop pride.
And this is sort of like this is the difference between working in this world and working in bhakti in this world.
Spiritual world, yeah.
Right? And it's not that work necessarily changes, it's that your consciousness behind the work changes. And it naturally, first of all, it naturally makes you a more likable person, because once you have success through your ego, it becomes a little repulsive because we're not the center and we're trying to like boast or promote ourselves as the center and as the cool guy, the guy that's figured it all out, the guy who's got their act together. Can you work and be really like focused, disciplined, productive, successful?
Yeah.
But there's no ego behind it. This is the slack line that we tend to walk on in our spiritual life.
Slack line.
You like that? I used to say tightrope, but it's that now. Slack lines are sort of cooler. So I use that analogy.
So Raghu, why don't you read for us up to text 30?
Sure. Text 27. And please inform me how you, by your own self, manifest different energies for annihilation, generation, acceptance, and maintenance by combination and permutation.
He's got different energies and he mixes them and he blends them to create and then to withdraw.
Like a chef. He's like a chef.
He's like a chef, but he's also like another creature. And I know you really like this analogy, and this is where it comes from. I brought it up before and you really liked it, but here's the source. Text 28.
Text 28. O master of all energies, please tell me philosophically all about them. You play like a spider that covers itself by its own energy, and your determination is infallible. So this beautiful analogy of a spider, spider web. Anything that flies into that web, even when someone's walking down the street and they get caught in a spider web, they start freaking.
Oh man. Yeah.
But
two things about the web analogies is one is that the spider is independent in the sense that it doesn't have to draw from another source to create the web. The web comes from within itself. So whenever we create, even when Brahma creates, he has to draw on Krishna's energy. He can't create that energy. He's using the energy of Krishna to create. Whereas when Krishna creates, it's like the spider. It's from within himself. All the energy comes from within himself. He creates it. We get caught up in it. He doesn't, right?
Sure.
So like that spider, he's crawling on that web, no problem.
He's
Everyone
just
else is
walking
getting
on
caught.
that web, no big deal at all.
Yeah.
But everything else that flies into it is trapped immediately.
Yeah. And then when the time is right, the spider withdraws that web within itself. And you can see that sometimes, like when you see like a spider that's hanging down on a thread of web.
It's right back up.
And then it goes right back up. Where's the web going? It's withdrawing it back within itself.
So fascinating. That is a great analogy, actually.
It's an incredible analogy.
That Maya, but he's not subject to the Maya.
And he's not subject to it, and it's from within himself, and then he withdraws it within himself. So he's independent. He's not dependent. And this is so significant because right here, Brahma's going to pray for humility. He's going to pray. I don't want to become proud. Now, when you think of the level and the extent of Brahma's creative energy, it's unfathomable. Now, what can we create? If you really think about it, what can we create? I mean,
Me personally?
Yeah, like what can you create?
Nothing.
You've been on that farm for a while now. What have you created already?
Nothing. I'm really good at destroying things.
Okay.
Like when it comes to creation, maintenance, and destruction, I'm more like in the destruction mode. Like if
but
you
even
do some
that, how much can you destroy? It's like you can't even destroy that much.
You're right. I guess I'm a complete failure.
But not just you, all of us. It's like we're limited.
Now, some people can create very cool things, furniture makers, and
that's cool, but it's tiny.
Weavers.
But weavers are. I'm impressed with a lot of weavers and people that can do tapestries and.
Mara knits. You can knit.
Mara knitted us great scarves earlier in the year. I treasure it to this day. But you know, how much yarn can Mara weave? You know.
Yeah. How much can she weave?
It's a very insignificant. She's giving us a little mudra of insignificance. But whereas like Brahma, it's like it's inconceivable what he can create. But he remains humble. He's focused. I don't want to develop pride. Well, what's the saying that the pauper is proud of his penny?
Even a pauper is proud of his penny.
Yeah, it's like any tiny little thing we do, we get proud about it. And if it's not recognized, we get upset about it. We are controlled by that material energy, and it's pitiful. Right?
Yeah, we talk about a higher power, or we think we're free, but pride is such a master for us.
It is.
It owns us in so many ways.
We get owned.
And that's why we chant these pranam mantras. Om Gyana Timarandasya. We start to realize that whatever we have that's good, we're getting it from some other source. We're not even trying to take credit for the beautiful thing. If we are creating something, we're not taking credit for it. We're giving that credit back to someone else who gave us some insight or some skill.
Well, that's
it's such a beautiful culture.
It is. And you know where it comes from? It comes from Brahma right here. Read the next verse. He's exactly the stuff that you're talking about. That's what he's coming up with here.
Text 29.
9.
Please tell me so that I may be taught in the matter by the instruction of the personality of Godhead, and may thus act instrumentally to generate living entities without being conditioned by such activities.
Okay. So he's saying, I'm not going to speculate about this and try to figure it out on my own. I want to be taught by you. I want to hear from a source that really understands. And the purpose is because with that knowledge, I'll be able to understand my Dharma. I'll be able to understand my purpose, and I'll be able to act. And this is so important here. He says, instrumentally, right? I want to act as an instrument. That's how I find my meaning. Here's the word, maybe Nityananda can fill us in, atandrataha. Are you familiar with that word, Nityananda-ji?
Unmute this man.
Unmute this man.
Yeah.
There we go.
Generally, laziness in Sanskrit, tandra.
Tandra means lazy?
Lazy, dullness. So atandritaha, I want to be fully aware, on top of it. Well, here again, and here comes what we call in commentaries. So what exactly that word means in a particular verse. So probably Prabhupada here draws on a specific commentary where they actually interpret that in this text, atandritaha means instrumental. I'm pretty familiar with the way Prabhupada draws on the commentaries, and if something is not coming directly from the literal meaning of the word, then I know for sure Prabhupada must have drawn it from some acharya. So
from the great teachers of the past.
Yes.
Amazing. Thank you for that. You see, we need a Sanskrit
We need
consultant.
him as just sort of on the side to bring him
Yeah.
in. Nityananda, 3:30 Baroda time every day.
Every day. Okay. So he's saying, I want to act as an instrument. And a lot of times people within the yoga realms and so on, we talk about dharma, that I want to discover my dharma and so on. Like, what is my purpose in life? And really, we're seeing here from the very first human being in the universe is kind of laying out a path for discovering our dharma. I need to hear from the right source, right? He says, please tell me so that I may be taught in the matter by the instruction of the personality of Godhead. And that means I'm hearing from a valid source. I'm not going to speculate. I need to understand things as they are. And my goal, the purpose to that jnana, the purpose to that knowledge, is not so that I can think I'm better than others. It's so that I can act as an instrument, right? I want to act instrumentally. That in that I'll find my purpose. Just like a leaf is instrumental to the tree. I want to be connected with that divine source of everything as an instrument. And when one makes that shift, that I don't want to be the center of existence, but I want to act as an instrument of the divine in this world, that's a life changer.
You know what's going on now, Kaustubha? We are so divorced from, we don't even know what to do in this world. Like we don't even know, I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. And we have a whole generation of people who have been very privileged, and they're just sort of wandering around trying to find purpose. And so if you're lucky enough, you get to a life coach or something, and they say, well, what are you good at? What do you love? What are you passionate about? But the interesting thing is they're missing the secret formula. And that's described here, is that it's not like you're just doing, even if you do get focused on, what you want to contribute, what you're good at, which is rare. Some people just end up working jobs or careers that they're not happy in, that they dread. And they dread, and they get drunk on Friday because thank God it's Friday, and Monday, and I got the weekend off. Thank God I'm gonna sleep in. I'm gonna get drunk. I'm gonna go on vacation and get drunk. It's like they're medicating their workday, and they're not following a particular passion. So nowadays people say, you know what? I want to follow my passion. I want to get into what am I passionate about? People are quitting these six-figure jobs to find something they're really joyful about, something that they can feel like they're contributing to. But it's not just like we're supposed to do what we're good at. Because let's face it, Aurangzeb, Stalin, Pol Pot, these guys were all incredible leaders, warriors, but they were like murdering maniacs. So it's not like we just want to do what we're good at. We want to do what is going to liberate us.
But what if we're really good at murder?
Well, if you're good at murder, then you have to learn that. Then you use those techniques to protect people.
There you go.
Not just, right. You have some noble cause.
Right.
There's always going to be a class of people that are protecting the vulnerables. So if you're like a warrior by nature, then that's
murder
Dharma.
people that are harming others.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's like we want to find out what is our occupation, but what is our occupation that will lead us to liberation and everybody we touch towards liberation.
Well,
that's sort of the missing point of life coaching and things like that. How can we bring these people where there is a direct contribution back to God? Go ahead.
What you're saying reminds me of the idea, a really important idea when it comes to discussing this theme of Dharma, that there are two types of Dharma discussed by our acharyas and discussed in Shastra. And one type of Dharma is like a temporary Dharma, which is relative to who we are and our position in life and our particular talents or skills or mindset or psychology, etc. One person's Dharma may be to protect the innocent, another person's Dharma may be to be a teacher, and another person's Dharma, people have it's a dharma to be a mother, that's relative to time. Like at one point in my life, I wasn't a mother, and then time changed and circumstances changed and I became a mother. So there's a type of dharma or responsibility role that we play, instrumental role that we play, that's relative to time and circumstance and to the person and so on. But then there's an eternal dharma, the nitya dharma. And that is not relative to time, place, individual. That's something that
Your
every
body,
individual,
your mind, your things that you like. Right, yeah.
It's every soul shares that same dharma, and it's an eternal dharma. It never changes. And that dharma is that we are all, by constitution, you could say instruments of, or servants of, with love, of servants of God. That's something that doesn't change according to time. It doesn't, it's not like, well, that's my dharma, not yours. That's everyone's dharma. So when you say, we may have a skill or a certain psychology, and that may help determine what is our relative dharma, our temporary dharma. But how do I use that skill? How do I use that aptitude or ability that I have? That all ties into the eternal dharma that we all share, that it should be used ultimately in the service of God, with humility. Now, Prabhupada writes in the commentary here, he says, everyone should know in clear consciousness that one is, in the execution of all activities, an instrument. A conditioned soul is instrumental in the hands of the external energy, Gunamayi Maya, or the illusory energy of the Lord, right? We're getting owned, like you were saying, right? Getting owned by pride, getting owned by,
Owned.
we have a little intelligence, we have a little beauty, we have a little wealth, we have a little reputation. We become proud of it and we get owned by that.
It's so ugly.
It's ugly. And then he says, and in the liberated, so in the conditioned stage, we become instrumental we become a puppet in the hands of the illusory energy, right? We become instrumental to the illusory energy. And then he says, and in the liberated stage, the yogic stage, right? This is how the true yogi operates. In the liberated stage, the living entity is instrumental to the will of the personality of Godhead directly. And then Prabhupada has a great statement here. He says, to be instrumental to the direct will of the Lord is the natural constitutional position of the living entity. Whereas to be an instrument in the hands of the illusory energy of the Lord is material bondage for the living entity. Mm-hmm. So it's saying that we're an instrument one way or another. But our choice is to figure out how we are. And if we can uncover or revive that sense of loving service to God and through God to every living entity, then we can actually feel that real eternal Nitya Dharma. And that's where we find our happiness. That's the formula for happiness. That's the formula for meaning and happiness in life.
What is my contribution in this world?
Yeah. And to whom do I contribute?
Yeah.
And I tell that story sometimes. You've probably heard it earlier. I won't tell the whole thing, but it's like when I was a monk, back in the early 90s, and I was walking down this road early in the morning in Mayapur, in this holy place. Have you heard me tell this story, Raghunath? And then I came upon, it was like the sun was rising. There's hardly anybody out. I was walking down that Bhakti-siddhanta road in Mayapur. And I came to the end of the road. I was just kind of meditating, checking my rounds, and a man came out. There's like nobody on the street, and he came out, and he said, he actually tried to sell me a mridanga, tried to sell me a drum. And I was like, no, thank you. And he asked me where I'm from, and I said I was from New York. And he said, oh, you're from America. Can you help me? And then I said, I could try. What do you got in mind? And he said, I have something from America, and I don't know how to use it. And I said, okay. And so then he was standing in front of his house, which was just like a one room kind of small little, almost like more like a hut than a house. Yeah. And he brought me in there, and he closed all the shutters, like something very secret was going on.
Only in India things like this happen.
Yeah, right. And so I'm sitting on the floor of the stranger's home, and he shuts all the windows, and we're sitting on the floor. There's basically room for a bed in this room and not much more. So we're sitting on the floor. And so I said, so how can I help you? And he said, I have a heater from America, but I don't know how to use it. I said, okay, well, let's take a look. So he reached under the bed and he slid out a cardboard box, put it in front of me. And I opened up the box and I looked inside, and there wasn't a heater inside, but it was a waffle iron. And I don't
Oh,
know.
you should have said, I got some better news for you.
Well, I said, I have some news for you. I said, this isn't here. And then I had to try to explain what a waffle is, right? Like, I said, it's like a
Explain
big
waffle.
square jalebi, and but he was kind of disappointed. I don't know if he got cheated or what happened, but somehow he was convinced that he had a heater for his home, but it was a waffle iron. And the reason that I bring this point up is because a waffle iron has its dharma, right? A
I like how
waffle
you bring it
iron.
back to Christian.
Bring it time. Hey, I'm not just going off on a tangent here,
No, I
Raghunath.
think you're
Okay,
just
I'm
telling a
tying
funny
it.
story.
Yeah. So the waffle iron is designed to make waffles. You could use it to try to heat your room. It's not really situated in its constitutional position. It's not situated
Doesn't generate
right.
that much heat.
It doesn't generate that much. It's not situated right when it's used for any other purpose. But when it's making waffles, it's situated just right. And so similarly, we have a temporary dharma. We have a certain psychologist. Our world is so mixed up right now that it's hard to get situated according to our aptitude for people to understand. In the Vedic society is really clear and easy to understand and easy to get situated. In our world, everything's mixed up. And that's the temporary dharma. But especially for that eternal dharma, if we can just get situated in that right, that my life, is meant to serve God. And by serving God, I serve every living being. And when I try to make life all about me being the center and that everybody should be serving me, I'm not situated right, because my natural constitutional position and that of every living entity is Krishna dasa, 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 anudasa, right? That I'm a servant of the servant of the servant of the servant of God.
It's finally putting the dropped pin on your GPS of like where to go.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm just spending time driving in circles, wasting time, resources.
Right.
Even if you have a really nice car, you're still driving in circles.
That's
So
right.
it's this point of like where to go now. Even if you have nice stuff, it's good to have nice stuff. Matter of fact, some of the most humble people that we meet in are like the most. In me and Kostuba's travels, we meet incredibly wealthy people in India, but they just have this different attitude, like
Yep.
this mood of servitude and devotion, and it just shows. They're not.
In some of those families, you can see that like the parents were handing this down, not only handing down the wealth, but handing down this kind of clarity that even though we're like our family's wealthy, we're servants. And we're servants of God. We're servants of humanity, and that's deeply instilled, through the generations.
Yeah, it doesn't manifest in some pompous
display
reality show of
Okay.
yeah.
Now, why don't we end with this one last verse? Because this I just love this verse. To me, this is like the highlight of this section right here. Text 30.
O Lord, the unborn. O Lord.
Oh my Lord.
Oh my Lord, the unborn. You have shaken hands with me just as a friend does. You've shaken hands with me just as a friend does with a friend, as if in an equal position. I shall be engaged in the creation of the different types of living entities, and I shall be occupied in your service. I shall have no perturbation. What does that mean?
I'm not going to get sidetracked.
I'm not going to be perturbed.
Yeah.
But I pray that all this may not give rise to pride, as if I were the supreme.
As if I were the supreme.
This great person with a great job, he's got a great gig, he's got great talent. He's giving birth to great beings.
All kinds of beings.
All types of greatness.
Yeah.
And he's not going to get caught up in the pride of it.
Yeah, it's like God says here, I'm going to give you the power, right? Like I'm going to give you creative power that's practically unimaginable. But his whole thing is he's coming and he's saying, you know what? You just shook my hand. You treated me as if I was your equal. I'm not your equal. I'm your servant. And I'm happy.
Nityananda, what's the Nityananda Prabhu? What is the Sanskrit for that? Shaking of the hand. Are you following the verses, Prabhu?
Yeah. Let's see.
Did they shake hands in ancient India?
Yeah, not in the way that they shake hands in the West, but it's kind of they fold their hands and then they touch the tips of the fingers to each other. So kind of like
Oh, that's
very
cute.
humbly.
Let's touch our fingers.
There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very often. That's it. This is how Gopi Pradhana Prabhu, my teacher,
Yeah.
explained this verse, that it was not like Brahma came, oh, hi, hello, sir. It was kind of like,
But is it mentioned in this verse, or is he just
not
taking that from
literally,
previous?
not literally.
I noticed. Yeah.
I'll have a look at the commentaries right now. If I find, I'll tell you.
Okay. When I looked at the previous verse that mentioned this at first, it seemed like Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur translated as touching. He was touched. He touched him with his hand.
Mhm.
And Prabhupada said he shook hands. That's interesting. And maybe Prabhupada's just doing that for a Western audience, just so that we get an
Yeah.
idea, you know,
Yes.
Yeah,
If
it would
there-
sound
of what
weird
was
to
expressed. You know, yeah, what was expressed. But he's saying, but in any case, he's saying you treated me like an equal, but actually I'm engaged in your service. And I'm going to do that without perturbation, which means it can mean without a disturbed mind, but it can also mean without getting sidetracked, without getting distracted by anything. And he says,
bothered.
yeah, bothered. Yeah, bothered. But he says, but this is my prayer. Again, the very first prayer in the history of the universe. You know, Lord Brahma, the most intelligent being in the universe, right from the beginning, he lays out how we're meant to go about life. How with whatever empowerment we receive in life, our mentality should always be, I pray that this may not give rise to pride. Because you know what? Pride is that element that separates us from our Dharma. It separates us from our constitutional position. It separates us from our well-being. It's this pride, you know. It gets underneath everything. It ruins everything. Pride ruins our connection to Dharma. That was the mic drop. I thought you were
That
going
was the mic drop. Oh,
Yeah.
That was beautiful. Wow. Well, we are super fortunate.
Great
to have
having
Nityananda
Nityananda
today.
Yeah.
Thank you, Nityananda Prabhu. Thank you for joining us. We want to have you back. I love checking in with the pundit.
Yeah, checking in with the pundit. Maybe that should be a Thursday thing. Pundit day.
Check in with the pundit day. Yes. All right, Nityananda, we're going to put that out there. Thank you very much. And his course, again, is called Sanskrit Sense. That's his website and his YouTube channel, too. And you can join me in my study of Sanskrit, and hopefully it brings me to new levels in my practice, and I just don't get all arrogant and try to tell Kaustubha how he's pronouncing everything wrong.
There's nothing could get the pride going like studying Sanskrit, right? I mean, it's like,
although Nityananda Prabhu is not proud at all.
No, he's an exception, but it can
perfect example. Yeah. Thanks for everybody for joining us. We had over 100 people today. And thanks to all the people listening on there as the others. If you're one of the others out there, you can join us on Zoom by emailing Mara at wisdomofthesages108@gmail.com. This is a community-supported podcast. We've also about to put in a donation button if you want to give a donation. We're putting up our website. We're excited. Our website's going to have everything. It's going to have our class listings that are going on Patreon. Anyway, it's patreon.com/wisdomofthesages. If you'd like to give a monthly donation, it's really welcome. And it helps keep this boat floating. Now, the funnest time of day, Nityananda. I know you're very sophisticated Brahmana, but this is where we put our hands up and we start dancing.